She took a knife and she stabbed him in the heart. And then
How easily does it?
she took some oil and she boiled it and she poured it in his ear to make sure he was dead. Boiling oil in the ear.
That would also do.
Welcome back to Arsenic Culture, where beer don't count, but bad decisions definitely do. I'm Matt.
And I'm not Matt.
I am Matt. And what are we doing?
Damn, I don't know. We just got done drinking a lot of tequila.
Yeah.
We drank a bottle each, I think.
I didn't even do a plug for the place. We are actually broadcasting in Arcadium in downtown Lexington, where Jason is going to get his ass beaten Street Fighter 2.
That's probably true.
It's very true. Remember last time we played Street Fighter 2 over in...
I don't remember that at all. Yeah, memory's a little fuzzy.
We were in, where did we go? Weren't we all together? No?
I see it. Was it in Pearl? No, I think it was, I don't think you all know.
We went to an arcade and Jason's like, oh dude, I'm gonna beat your ass in Street Fighter. And we went like 3 rounds and I fucking spanked him every single round. He's like, this game's fucking broken. This is bullshit.
That's right. That's the first go-to.
He forgot I'm Asian. So it's like, I come out of the womb knowing how to play video games.
He kicked my ass, I remember.
Yeah. But Arcadium here, they got a lot of cool old school arcade games, quarter powered games here, which...
Yeah, Shinobi back there, I saw that one.
Yeah, they had Altered Beast for a while. I don't know, is it still over there? It was on the Fritz. Altered Beast has like been one of my favorite games of all time. But yeah, come check these guys out. They got a restaurant in the back called Favor. They do amazing burgers over there.
Great burgers.
Yeah, right in the middle of
maybe
everything.
the best in town, no joke.
Possibly, yeah. So, but today we are going to revisit something that I got to experience, and I thought this was very fun. Jason, you get to just sit back and enjoy this episode because I got all the notes here. But recently, I got to pull the notes up. What'd you say?
Sit back and drink.
Yeah. What is this called? Witch's Brew?
You're asking the wrong guy.
There we go. I got to get my notes up here. I recently just got back from Jamaica. Hopefully by the time this comes out, you'll see some of the quick shots and the spill that me and Drew did together on overproof rum in Jamaica and Ray and Nephew. If you're watching and not listening on our YouTube, in front of me, I actually have a bottle of Ray and Nephew overproof rum that is filled with something that is not Ray and Nephew overproof rum. This is called Witch's Brew. This was created in 1969, I believe. I'll find it here in a second. And by a bartender at the Rose Hill Plantation as a concoction to ward off evil spirits. And I don't know if it works, but it will definitely get you drunk, and that's what I do know.
We got Kyler here. If we ward him off, we're good.
That's true, yeah. Fucking didn't work, but it is tasty. So, but when I was in Jamaica, we would visit this Rose Hall Plantation. Have you ever heard of this place?
No, I haven't. No, I've heard Jamaica, just not the Rose Hall Plantation.
Oh, you heard Jamaica?
I have heard Jamaica.
Okay, that's actually what I really wanted to know.
I think they're in Cool Runnings, the movie. That's where I heard of them. Yeah.
You know what's funny? Actually, they had the
Jamaican bobsled.
Yeah,
thing?
the Jamaican bobsled. There was actually a bar called the Jamaican Bobsled Bar.
I would go.
Yeah, it was pretty hilarious. Yeah, so.
So before we get into that question for you, one question: what's overproof rum? What's that mean?
So overproof rum, you'll see in the spill episode. Check it out if you haven't, or once it comes out, if it hasn't come out by the time we release this. But overproof rum is simply rum that is higher proof.
It's like barrel strength bourbon kind of thing.
Yeah, but like some of them come in around like 78%.
Oh God!
Like some of them are strong as fuck. So
150, 160.
Yeah. So the Ray and Nephew, the original Ray and Nephew, 63%, which is still pretty high.
Yeah.
And we tried it, and it's good. It's very clean. It's an unaged product, so it's white.
So think like Bacardi 151 used to have that and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. I think Bacardi 151 is considered an overproof rum, and they have some that are aged. But Ray and Nephew specifically has very deep ties to Jamaica and the heritage there.
Very cool label.
Yeah, they just really like the people that started it were like big benefactors and philanthropists to the country of Jamaica. They donated like a playhouse and some other shit. I don't know.
Like Pee Wee's Playhouse?
No, definitely not. Not one of those.
R.I.P. Paul Rubens.
Yeah, right. But yeah, overproof rum, Ray and Nephew specifically, they mix it with a couple other things. They do something called Ray and Ting. Ting is a grapefruit soda over there.
I think I've seen that. I think I've seen that.
It's kind of like, you know what Squirt is? I know you do. Yeah, it's kind of like Squirt soda. And then they'll mix that, and they do another one called Ray and Boom, which we tried, and we'll have a quick shot of that. Boom is an energy drink that comes in a little Coke-looking bottle, like about yay big, about like 6 inches tall, completely black. but the beverage is
It's not like the one they had like the panther on it. Remember that one?
similar.
What was that
It is
called?
similar, but smaller. You're thinking
Yeah.
of is it Josta?
Josta.
Yeah,
That's it. Yeah.
But this was is an energy drink called Boom, and it's very similar to Red Bull.
Okay.
And they'll drink that.
Was it pretty good?
It wasn't bad. Our friend D got it for us over there, which we appreciate you for doing. That was pretty awesome. Over at the Singles Resort in Montego Bay. And then we had some other stuff there. But so we ventured off of the resort. We went to the Rose Hall Plantation. Okay. And I'm going to give you a little backstory. Now, as a caveat.
You know what would make me enjoy the backstory more?
What?
Is to try some alcohol.
Oh, really? So I'm going to shake this up. I'm going to let you pour this.
Okay.
And you can sip it. And I'm going to go into the actual beverage. It might be a little sticky there. But as a caveat, this story, I don't think it's based in 100% fact. A lot of this is folklore, but this is what a lot of the locals believe to happen, and this is basically what they'll tell you when you go to the Rose Hall Plantation. But the Rose Hall Plantation is in Montego Bay, Jamaica. It was built around 1770 by John Palmer and his wife, Rosa Palmer.
Okay.
It spanned 6,600 acres, and they had over 2,000 slaves working the plantation.
Oh, wow.
So you could go up in the balcony and look out over the land, and basically 6,600 acres. Everywhere that you could see was part of this plantation, all the way up to the ocean. Basically, you know, they owned like part of the country. Like, absolutely insane.
I'm not gonna lie. I honestly didn't know they had slaves in Jamaica. Like, not being funny, I didn't know.
Yeah. I mean, it was everywhere. It was rampant, and they ended up having a revolt. But that comes into the story a little bit later. John Palmer and Rosa Palmer built the Rose Hall Plantation together. Rosa Palmer, John Palmer's wife, died in 1790. Okay, this is all according to the stories around there. Enter Annie Palmer. Okay, Annie Palmer was born in Haiti to English-Irish parents. Who died of yellow fever early on in Annie's life. She ended up being raised by a nanny who practiced witchcraft and voodoo. You know what she did with that witchcraft and voodoo?
She used it.
She taught Annie how to use it.
Okay.
And she used it. I'm sure she used it. Yeah, of course she used it. So in the early 1800s, in the early 1800s, shortly after Rosa Palmer died, Annie met John Palmer, and they got married. He took her as his
Conspiracy
wife.
theory, maybe some voodoo in the works there. See?
It could have been. He had a lot of money and a lot of land, and she needed a wealthy husband.
And she knew magic.
Yeah, the blackest of magics. Yeah, they were married for
That hussy.
They were married for like 6 or 7 years. Allegedly, he was an abusive husband. He beat her. He scolded her. He was not nice to her. Annie would end up taking solace in sleeping with some of the slaves behind his back. Thing is, it's hard to keep that shit a secret. So when he would find out, he apparently would go and kill the slaves that she slept with. They had so many, I guess it wasn't a big deal. And people were fucking different back then. So, thing is, apparently she was pretty abusive too. Did you just spill that on? Oh
No, it was like a
fuzzy
little.
photo.
Yeah.
Apparently she was pretty abusive too. It says that she would like berate the slaves, even like the ones that she took in her bed. She would like beat them for like the most minor of infractions. They had a bunch of kitchen help, and she accused a lot of the kitchen staff of eating their food. So whenever they had like guests or whenever they would be served dinner or lunch or whatever, they had the help carry the food to the door. They would have to whistle as they carried out the food to prove that they didn't have fucking food in their mouth. Oh, wow. And if they did, she would beat them or throw them in the dungeon.
It's like she's paranoid.
Yeah, she actually had a dungeon. They had a dungeon in the bottom level of Rose Hall Plantation, which we got to visit. And the rumor was that if you got sent down to the dungeon, you basically never saw the light of day after that. Like, you would die there. They would let you starve, and then that would be the end of your life.
Sounds a lot like New Orleans, like some of those places down there. You know, they would talk about some of the slaves and how they would treat those people underneath the ground, have the jails and stuff like that, each house.
Honestly,
have you ever been there?
To New Orleans?
Yeah.
I've been to, I went to a French Quarter. Yeah,
a lot of voodoo.
Years and years ago. But I imagine like a lot of places back then when like slavery was a thing, like they just treated people like shit.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I bet you that was pretty common because nobody cared. You know what I mean?
True.
So, but anyway, so they were married for about 6 or 7 years. Were not nice people. Eventually, Annie would murder her husband, John. It's up in the air exactly how she did it, but they said logically, or not logically, but realistically, it could have been poison in a coffee. A lot of people think she actually used black magic to like cast a hex or spell on him and have him die. So he ended up dying, and she ended up having a ball after that. She fucked whoever she wanted on the plantation. If she didn't like him, she would have him killed. Like if they couldn't keep their mouth shut because she didn't want to seem like a hussy or whatever. But yeah, apparently she was fucking wild and she was crazy and she was a bitch. The problem is back then,
real winner.
Yeah, I know. The problem is legally back then a woman wasn't allowed to own land. It had to be a man. So in order
And get remarried?
yes, in order I guess the land was like bequeathed to her since she was next in line, but she couldn't own it outright. So she had to marry a husband in order to retain ownership of the land, and the government wouldn't take it.
Okay.
She ended up marrying a second man. Now, this the second husband, she also took a third husband. I couldn't actually find their names. When I went to the tour, I can't.
Probably just some dude on the street, like, hey, you want to get married real quick? Because
Yeah, right.
I need you. Then throw him in the basement and throw him in jail.
Yeah, it's just like never let him see his eye. They'd be like, yeah, I'm married. He's somewhere. Like,
He's alive, I swear.
I haven't seen him in a couple of years, but I know he's around.
A little voodoo doll poking and stabbing him.
Yeah, like shut up, stop talking. But I think that the tour guide gave his name. The tour guide's name is Sancha, by the way.
Okay.
If you go visit Rose Hall Plantation, she's amazing. But I think that she gave their names. I can't actually remember. And then if you look online, there's a lot of like discrepancy as who it actually was or who it could have been. They were married, I think, for like a couple years. Didn't last nearly as long as the first one. After a couple years, she ended up murdering him as well. This gets really good. Apparently, they were in bed,
Okay.
and I guess they were fucking. And then she took a knife and she stabbed him in the heart. And then
That usually does it.
she took some oil and she boiled it and she poured it in his ear to make sure he was dead. Boiling oil in the ear
That would also do it.
to just like, I guess, melt his brain. I mean, that's pretty aggressive. Like, of all the things you can do, like, think about like how much time it takes to be like, I'm gonna go down to the kitchen, I'm gonna boil some oil, and then I'm gonna take it back upstairs, I'm gonna get a funnel, and then I'm gonna pour it slowly so that way it all stays in his ear. I mean, I'm imagining she didn't just like dump it on his head, you know what I mean? It specifically said she poured it in his ear. You know what I mean?
You know what would happen to me if I did that? I would spill the oil as I'm walking up the stairs and get all over me. I'd be like, oh shit.
That's the thing. You don't even think about like the semantics of the situation. Like she's trying to carry this hot boiling oil. If she was like sweating and it dropped in there, that shit's gonna like boil.
Done.
It's gonna
Yeah.
like fizz over and everything.
little
Like
water.
it's kind of a nightmare. That was a very calculated maneuver, and I think it really just kind of shows how fucking crazy this chick was.
It brings me back to like there was we used to watch American Horror Stories. You ever watch that?
Yeah, I actually liked the first season.
I liked
it got
a few
really
seasons.
weird after
it
that.
Did, but there was one where they were down in New Orleans, I believe. Kathy Bates was in it.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of stuff like this. Like there was like
Boiling oil in there? Putting boiling
there was,
oil in
I
there?
don't remember that exact part, but there was a whole lot of like the voodoo aspect,
Yeah.
the black magic, and then
yeah.
the slaves and like turning people into monsters and like amputating their arm, just crazy stuff, wild ways to kill people. It reminds me a lot of that. I wonder if they took some of the history of like things like this and took it to the American Horror Story. Yeah,
honestly, it could have been.
Yeah.
And I'm going to kind of tie it back and to something kind of like that at the end, and you'll see.
Did you meet Kathy Bates?
That's actually what it was. Me and Kathy Bates met over at Rose Hall Plantation, and we actually planned this whole episode together.
Speaking of, if you not watched Matlock, the new Matlock with her in it is very good. I would recommend it.
My wife and my daughter love it. My 11-year-old daughter, they watch it and they say it's actually good. And my father-in-law, so that's pretty hilarious. Kathy Bates is a classic.
She's great.
Amazing. Yeah. So, anyways, husband number 2, now dead. Stabbed through the heart, boiled oil in his brain.
Yeah, probably didn't get him the first time, but the oil got him.
She got him at some point, yeah. Shortly after that, she decided to take a third husband. Same reasons, I presume. You got to be able to own the land. You got to have a husband. So she took a third husband. Again, not sure what his name was.
Call him Jim.
Old Jim.
Old Jim.
Lasted even shorter. He lasted about 6 months.
I heard that.
Yeah. This was interesting. So one of the slave lovers that Annie had taken was a gentleman by the name of Takoo. Takoo. Okay. She had convinced Takoo to kill her third husband. Apparently, he came into the guy's bedroom and choked him to death on his bed. I don't think it was willingly. I don't think he was like, I'm so in love with you, I'm gonna do this, because I'm pretty sure he was forced to fuck her
Probably
anyway.
saying, I'm gonna kill you if you don't kill him, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Literally, seriously. I mean, that's what it came down to. So he ended up having to murder this white man, and I'm sure he was like, my life is fucked.
Scared to death either way.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, husband number 3 didn't last long at all. But she never married a 4th time, from what I read.
That's what they want you to believe.
I know. She continued.
She had a 4th one.
She probably had like
It's
12.
Bob. His name is Bob.
Yeah, they're still looking for their bodies. But yeah, she ended up like living a little while after that. But what ended up happening is that there was a slavery. There was an uprising by the slaves, and I think this was like a nationwide thing. There was a revolt to abolish slavery, and slavery was abolished, but not for like 20 years later after that. But during this revolt, on her plantation, they ended up getting, I think Taku was the one that killed her. And they say it was like a revenge kind of thing. Apparently another guy that she slept with was one of Taku's friends, and she had him killed. So Taku was like, fuck you, I'm gonna kill you now. Some other people say that it was just kind of like a bunch of the other slaves just killed her, but bottom line is she was
Awful person.
awful person. She was killed by the slaves on the plantation that she owned. They went through and destroyed everything in the house that she owned, as just like out of spite.
Good for them.
Yeah.
So that was behind this plantation that you went to.
Was that?
She was the owner of that plantation.
She was the owner of the Rose Hall plantation, ipso facto.
Yeah.
Because she killed off every other owner. Yeah. There was apparently, like in later days, like after it was restored, and like I don't know how long ago it was, but it was more recently. Apparently, somebody that was working the house, like a maid or something. There's a balcony, there's a viewing balcony that they have that's on the backside, technically overlooking like a bunch of the land. Somebody fell from that viewing balcony and died. Damn. And they're saying that was actually the ghost of Annie Palmer that pushed her off and killed her. And that was kind of like, the continuation of her like evil spirit. Like,
I'm trying to like envision this place. So, like, how big was it? How big was the house?
It's very, very old style, colonial style.
Okay.
Basically, like a giant rectangle, like exactly like what you would expect as a plantation house. Size wise, like
10,000 square feet.
Maybe not even. Okay. Honestly.
Yeah, I feel like back then, like big, huge houses were like. Now it's like our house. You know what I mean? Like
yeah. So like
3,000 square feet would be.
Yeah, exactly. So I would say it's probably around, the upper levels were probably around like 5,000, 4,000 square feet.
Okay.
Super tall ceilings, like in Arcadium where we are right here. Like everything back then, they were built with these super tall ceilings. But like you walk in the foyer and there was like, everything was compartmentalized. It's like nowadays architecture, especially residential architecture, is very much like open floor plan and stuff like that. Back then, everything was compartmentalized. If you ever go into like an old house, it's like you walk in and then it's a square room. And then off to that, it's another square room. And then off to that, it's a square room. And they're all just in a grid. And like one room will be designated as like a study, one will be designated as dining, one will be designated as like the smoking room. You know what I mean? They were all just basic rooms with their own purpose, and it was delineated by like whatever fucking furniture they had in there, whatever they were doing in there. It's
been pretty wild how much that's like changed over time in the past 80 years, 100 years. You know?
Oh yeah.
You look at that. I remember there was a nice home off Tates Creek. Used to be in Lexington, Kentucky. Murray's used to own it there.
I remember
used to be
that.
there. That was a beautiful place, like an old house, but it was compartmentalized. Like you'd walk in, there was like a room to your right, room to your left, and it was a restaurant where so
that's
they'd have
over
you
off
like
Harrodsburg Road.
No, I thought it was Tates Creek, a corner of Tates Creek. Am I crazy? Maybe it was Harrisburg. Either way, it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
But that was one of my favorite restaurants, Angie and I. But compartmentalized, you would have 12 different rooms of like 8 people could be in there to eat. You know what I mean? Like little big places here and there.
We can fit 4 tables in here and that's it. Yeah. The walls end up taking a lot more space than you realize. So they actually had some other buildings, outer buildings that were connected to the house, like wings.
Okay.
And there were other quarters used for different things. They had since been demolished. Okay. But so when she died, she was buried on the plantation near the house, just like a little bit further away. They ended up, later on, they dug up her grave to make sure her body was still there, because she was like this voodoo, priestess kind of like equivalent. They ended up making sure her body was there, making sure she didn't escape and like come back to life, reburied her, and then they put this like sarcophageal stone like mold on it. It looked like a tomb, but it wasn't a tomb. And it was supposed to hold her spirit in so that way she couldn't escape. What ended up happening is they christened it with 4 crosses. Oh, like on the north end, the south end, the east end, the west end.
Okay.
Somehow one of the crosses got removed.
Oh, wow.
And they're saying that her spirit was able to escape and she haunts the plantation to this day. And that's what happened with the help that died falling off the balcony. They had, in the dungeon where I was telling you where they used to like put slaves and that would end up like just dying, they ended up turning that into a like a speakeasy style bar. It's cool. They built a little bar around it, and that's where we got this beverage here. And a lot of people that went on the tour, they took pictures and stuff. Some of them would see like little artifacts or like what looks like a face in like a mirror or like in the background and stuff. And they would send the pictures in, and it's cool. They had a whole table of like different ghost sightings.
That's so scary.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like some of it you look at and you're like, I don't know. But some of them were like, there's a picture somebody took of the bed. And it looks like there's like a head laying on the pillow. It's really fucking weird. Like, it's just kind of like an outline, but it's like, how the hell did I get there, you know? Unless they took a Polaroid and drew on it. I really don't know, but it looked like it was in the picture. It was really neat.
There's a lot of weird coincidences, you know, even if you don't believe in that stuff, which I probably don't, but it's still a lot of weird coincidences.
And the
Can't
thing
explain,
is,
right?
I don't either. I think this was a fascinating story.
Oh, yeah.
It was really fun. So if you go online and you look this up, there are people that say like, this is folklore. This is kind of like, this is what a lot of people believe there. But a lot of people say that this could all just be manufactured stories based on a book by Herbert G. DeLisser called The White Witch of Rose Hall. And apparently he wrote about this, and I guess it was more of a story that he created, and it ended up taking on its life of its own. So how much of this is true, I don't really know. It's a fucking kick-ass story. I really enjoyed it. It was fun. But when we got down to the basement bar, they had this bottle of Ray and Nephew that was filled with something yellow. And I was like, what the hell is that? They go, this is the Witch's Brew. The first bartender they had looks like it was 1969. I was right. I don't know his name, but he actually came up with this recipe, or she, I don't know who it was, came up with this recipe, and it involves, I believe, 3 different types of rum.
Okay.
And a amalgam of citrus juices. That's where you see all that pulp stuff like floating in there. You got to shake it up. It does include Ray and Nephew overproof rum. It includes something called plantation rum, which I asked if I could buy a bottle. They said it's not made anymore. It was kind of confusing to me because they were putting it in.
They changed the name to Plantaray. So that's actually... I don't think we've done an episode on it.
How did you know that?
Long story. We were up at Standard Meadery. We were up there, and Adam, the guy behind Standard Meadery, was sharing some samples of rum that he had.
No shit.
And then he had some bottles. So if you remember, I think it was, when it was called Plantation, it had like this webbing around it that was like crisscross, like woven material.
Okay.
And they changed the name. Now it's Plantaray. So there's 2 different versions.
Really?
One of them just changed. And also they make a toasted coconut rum, which is fantastic.
You tell me about that. I remember you telling me about that.
We'll do a quick shot on that one because
that's awesome.
It's fantastic.
That's interesting. That could be because I was confused when they said it's not made anymore, and I'm like, then how the fuck did you make this? Because you said it's in there. So I thought maybe they were making it as like a contract basis, but that makes more sense that it.
Well, they also might have 5 cases or 50 cases in the basement. You know?
Yeah,
what I mean?
but I mean, I would assume you'd eventually go through that because this is a perishable product. So they were very close guarded with what they put in it. They just said fruit, citrus juices and stuff like that. But yeah, so this is supposed to ward off the evil spirits, which again, Kyler's here, so it didn't work. But
no, it didn't work.
It is tasty. What do you all think of this?
I think it's tasty. There's something a little off-putting in it. Maybe it's because of the proof, but it's not alcohol. Like it's no burn. You know what I mean?
I wonder if what is off-putting is some rum, especially like real like authentic like homemade rum, is very funky. I think you've heard people
gin, like
kind of like we're talking with our buddy Jacob. Remember when we tried to prank him with that real shitty Myers or whatever?
Yes.
And he drank it and he was like, oh yeah, it's super funky. That is actually a thing that a lot of like artisanal rum goes for. It's that kind of funky, you know, I guess you would liken it to like a funky beer or something like that, but it's not the same kind of funk. It's got that weird kind of like back of the throat umami. Yeah. And I think that might be what you're getting at.
I mean, I don't think it's bad. I enjoy it. I think it'd be better over like crushed ice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do they serve it down there if you get this over crushed ice?
They serve it, yes, they put it over ice in little tiny mason jar cups, and you get to keep it. It's pretty cool. Yeah, we took those home.
Yeah,
so.
I'm picturing like almost like Kentucky or Moscow Mule. You know, a little cup or cop kind of thing.
Yeah.
But no, I enjoy it. What about all this run you? Like it's already made up like that?
This was only $25. I almost bought 2, but we had a lot of alcohol. We brought back, so I was like, I don't need that much booze.
I wonder what a ball just the rum itself would be. You think?
Just the rum, I think you can get it for around like $20 or $22.
Okay.
It's pretty. It's pretty cheap. And again, it's got long-standing heritage there. It just, culturally speaking, it just goes way back.
Yeah.
When we did our episode where we did the spill with our short episode of the Ray and Nephew, the Ray rum.
Yeah.
There wasn't really a whole lot of like information behind the rum. I don't mean information. There wasn't like a whole lot of history.
Not a story behind the brand.
No, it's more just about the culture and what it means to Jamaica and the people in Jamaica.
I don't think I've ever seen this bottle before, so I'm assuming it doesn't.
You can't get it here. No, this is like
so you got contraband. That's not me.
And Drew's actually brought 2 bottles back. So
I wouldn't say it on
you can only get this in Jamaica. I don't want to say only in Jamaica, but definitely in Jamaica. You can't get it here.
Not legally here.
Yeah. So watch out for Andy Palmer. And watch out for Kyler off camera over here. He's giving you googly eyes. You're going to be his next husband. He's going to pour fucking boiling hot oil in your ear.
I'm going to sleep with earplugs in.
Can't get a hot boiling oil
Can't get me, baby. Can't get me.
That's fucking awesome. You got anything else?
I'm good.
Yeah. Thanks for watching or listening. If you liked it, please share it. If you didn't, then keep drinking until you do. You can check us out on all the socials. We are at Arsenic Culture, and we will see you on the next one.